in this environment, with Americans this tense, this divided, and then you get an unstable individual that somehow gets within 150 feet of a former president and current presidential candidate, things can get very, very dangerous quickly. And we saw that with the violence. We saw that with the loss of life and the additional injuries as well.
Thank you for speaking to us. First of all, then, your reaction to this, as we say, a dramatic moment, a scary moment. This is an assassination attempt on former President Trump.
Right. So this happened in the evening. I was at dinner with another political another political correspondent, having a lovely evening, thinking a Saturday night was not something where we're gonna have to worry about news, when all of a sudden my phone just, like the DMs and the text just sort of blew up. And in reading it, there was a surrealism, and then also sort of this feeling like, okay, this moment is going to have a massive impact on the future of this election and the United States going forward. But I just don't know how yet, but it's going to play out in a really big way.
Yeah, and if we could consider that for a moment or two, because immediately as this was happening and Donald Trump was being taken off the stage at the rally by the Secret Service agents, he kind of broke his fist free from this really tight huddle that they had him in, protecting him, and mouthed the words "fight" as he held his fist up into the air. What do you make of that as a response from Donald Trump?
Well, I think he wanted to convey that that he was okay, and you heard the crowd sort of roared in approval to know that he was okay, because at that moment, if you watched the entire thing, you just weren't sure what had happened to him. And so it was to convey that he was okay, and that he was in sort of a defiant moment, which was quite a thing. And if you've seen the pictures, that's a picture that's going to define this campaign for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Has this gone some way to securing Trump's victory? And, there is a lot that we still need to learn about what exactly happened here. But Republicans in general are kind of seizing this as something of a campaigning opportunity, I suppose, and indeed to attack the other side. Let me put this to you from Senator J.D. Vance, who's actually thought to be on the shortlist to become Trump's vice presidential candidate at the convention in Milwaukee this week. He said the rhetoric from the Biden campaign led directly to this incident. And I suppose, Amy, there's two things you can do as a politician here. You can try to calm the situation, or you can intensify it.
Right. Now that's so, I always gonna hate the finger pointing that goes on. But what I will say, one, I would say that America is bigger than all of this, and that political violence has been fully derided on both sides, as it should be. However, politicians and leadership do have a responsibility when they are speaking. There was a fundraising committee where Biden said, well, we've got to put Trump in the bullseye. There were some loose sort of talk. But in this environment, with Americans this tense, this divided, and then you get an unstable individual that somehow gets within 150 feet of a former president and current presidential candidate, things can get very, very dangerous quickly. And we saw that with the violence. We saw that with the loss of life and the additional injuries as well.
Yeah. What about this idea, Amy, that Trump's campaign has been built really on the idea that everyone is out to get him? And we've kind of seen that, whether it's in courts or whether it's political opposition or whether it's the media, that actually everyone is against him. And they are all trying to bring down his campaign and prevent his return to the White House. You talk about the kind of intense political situation in the US. Both sides have contributed to that. Would you agree?
Well, sure, both sides have contributed, but I mean, it's a little difficult, and I have not been a Trump fan, but there was, he definitely survived a shot that was meant for his head, and I wonder what kind of impact. He walked off his plane tonight in New Jersey. He looks good. Looks like that he's doing quite well. But I wonder what impact this is going to have him on as a candidate overall. Because you're right, when it comes to his indictments, he's been very much like they're out to get me and they're out to get you, and I'm the only thing standing in the way. This is certainly going to lend fuel to that fire. But it is also, it's incredibly hard video to watch. It's shocking video to watch. And certainly this was an assassination attempt.
Yeah. Is this likely to bring something of unity across the political divide? You know, we've heard that Joe Biden and Donald Trump have spoken on the phone, for example, this evening, that's not normal. That doesn't happen apart from in moments like this, in crisis. There is an opportunity here, I suppose, you can see it, for the situation to be calmed. I just wonder if Trump supporters, those ardent Trump supporters, will allow that. The anger is palpable, is how one correspondent described it to us earlier, among Trump supporters.
Yeah, well, first of all, so I have been to 4 Trump rallies in Minnesota now. And the energy and sort of just the Trump excitement is so high at those rallies. So they are intended, and they do get that MAGA base really excited. And so to have something happen like this at an event, it is going to have an increased frenzy to the MAGA crowd. But so how leadership responds to it, frankly, how the former president responds to it, how Donald J. Trump responds to this is going to be very telling. I think that for him, it's definitely going to, there's no doubt about it, right? Politically, this is going to give a boost to his campaign. A campaign, by the way, that he was, already really pulling ahead, given the disastrous debate performance by President Biden. However, and this is it's almost certainly going to give some kind of a boost, but also the rhetoric can get out of hand very quickly. I think back to in Minnesota, we had former Senator Paul Wellstone died in a plane crash. And there was almost an inevitability that his successor, former Vice President Mondale, would get elected here in the state of Minnesota. But there was this odd rally. It was supposed to be a funeral that turned into sort of a political rally and was really turned people off. And the entire election swung on that then. So how you respond to it is as important as the event itself. And we just won't know that for the next few days. But we're glad to see that he walked off his plane. We're really glad. Everyone should be greatly relieved and happy that he walked off his plane of his own mobility. And we'll see in the next few days his reaction. And of course, all this surrounded by the RNC convention is happening at the exact same time. You could not have scripted this. If this were a movie, Callum, no one would believe it because it's too unbelievable.